Hi guys, welcome back to uh, a different style of video. There's three things I want to try and show you and explain in this video, and I don't think a lot of people, especially learner drivers, know this because, quite honestly, they don't need to know it. It's instructors that need to know this, but I quite like to share this because I think it's only fair that you guys know how and why we are careful with who we decide to give our car to for the driving test. So by the end of this video, you will understand, hopefully, a little bit more about how instructors are affected by essentially the way that you guys perform on test. You will see a recent test from a few days ago that was almost perfect. Just one fault, but because it was a dangerous fault, and the examiner had to take some sort of action, it really affected the statistics. However, had that fault not happened, it would have affected the statistics in a great way. So I'm going to show you that, and I'm also going to show you my stats for the last 12 months. I have absolutely no problem showing them. They change every day, they change every test, and it's not something that I'm ashamed of. And as I go along, I do try and get a little bit better at making these decisions as to who can have the car and who can't. So, guys, let's jump right in. Here we go. So, first of all, to try and explain what happens when you go for a test, the DVSA, the Driving Vehicle Standards Agency, who monitor our statistics, look at tests that we have submitted in the last year on an ongoing basis. So it's always the last 365 days. And this is the tricky part for us. If you get a fault, we get that fault. And we don't want that fault. So this is how it works. We are assessed on the average number of driving faults, that's minor faults, that you guys pick up on your test. We are also assessed on the average number of serious or dangerous faults that you guys pick up on test. This one is to do with the percentage of driving tests that we submit where an examiner had to take action. Now that could be putting the jaw control on, using the brake pedal, or moving the steering wheel to prevent some sort of accident. Some examiners do this more than others. That's all I'm saying. And the other one is the overall pass rate. So stick with me. I'm going to try and make this as clear as I can. Every one of these indicators below have a minimum level, and if our stats, the stats that you guys give us, drop below a certain level, there is a trigger that essentially just changes its colour. Right? Think red means it's bad, green means it's good. And this is how it looks. So for minor faults, if on average we have less than 6 per test, green for good, red for bad. I don't have an issue with that. I think that's fine. I think it's fair enough. This one here, the average number of serious or dangerous faults per test, 0.55 or more, red. Less than 0.55 is green. This one. Sometimes an examiner likes to take action because they feel they need to. Sometimes I suspect they do it just to be safe. But if on 10% or more of our submitted tests an examiner takes action, that's a red flag, that's a trigger. And Overall pass rate, 55% or less is red, more than 55% green. So, take this example here. That's the 4 things that we're measured on. If our triggers are all good and we don't fall below, then, when I say they, I mean the DVSA, they leave us alone. They just think, you know what, that instructor's doing fine, let's leave them alone to get on with their job. Just what they should be doing. This one here, I've just marked one of them at random in red, so that means we've got 3 good and 1 bad. They'll leave us alone. Next example, you can see where this is going. 2 green, 2 in the red. They'll leave us alone. Now, if 1 is green and 3 are in the red, they need to get in touch with us and ask us to get the standards checked. Our standards that are decided upon by the folks that we don't make. Now, I guess if you've got all 4 in the red, I don't know, maybe that's a bad run of tests. But that's how it works. So what I'm going to do here, I'm hoping you can zoom in on this, but this is essentially my last 12 months, so that would go from the 13th of November 2022 to the 12th of November 2023, a rolling 12 months. I don't know if you can zoom in on this, but it's telling me I'm 2 and 2 for the red and the green triggers. Now, there was a test I had the other day. I'm not going to mention whose test it is, I never do. But I'm going to show you footage from the test. I'm going to try and explain a little bit about what happened, and I'll show you the footage just in a second. And then I'm going to show you my statistics after that test, which, by the way, was almost perfect, apart from one serious fault, right? And then I want to show you on the screen what the statistics would have been had this one tiny mistake not happened. In other words, I want to show the difference that you guys can make to our statistics. And this is the big thing. And by the way, this is not having a go at any learner driver. This is more about just how the system's a little bit unfair when we do our best for people, and sometimes on tests things go wrong, things we can't control, nerves. Anyway, right, let's see if I can show you. Right, hopefully this has worked out. I'm going to show you some footage here. Now, first things first, this was 30 odd minutes into a test. It's later in the afternoon. They've only got about 5 minutes left to go. They're on their way up to the top of this hill, back down past the hospital, and back to the test centre. And I can tell you, at about 30 minutes into this test, there were absolutely no minor faults, no serious faults, no dangerous faults. It was perfect. So they're coming up the hill, the sat-nav's on, you can actually see that in the reflection. See if you can spot the hazard. Everything's fine here. Now remember, they're just 5 minutes away from an absolute clean sheet, perfect pass. And look what's going on up here. There's a van parked on the left. There's oncoming cars. There's no room to get through. We should be slowing down. Hold it back. What's going on here? We should be holding back. What's going on here? Now, this is where an examiner had to push the wheel to save an accident. And do you know what? I absolutely 100% agree. That was the right thing to do. That was a dangerous fault. So, after entering that test onto my records, things look like this. Now, if you can't see this or you can't zoom in, let me just try and explain what's what here. Overall, it's still 2 green and still 2 red. Right, that's good news for me. The pass rate was 68.42. It went down to 65%. It went down a fair bit there, 3%. 3 and a bit. Examiner taking action went up. Of course it went up because this is another test where an examiner took action. It went from 21%, which is still way above the 10% trigger. Anyway, it went from 21 up to 25, so in reality it's went up 4%. Average amount of minor faults came down because there was no minors. That was good. And the average serious and dangerous faults went from 0.632 to 0.65, so it went up a little bit. Now, you can see why an almost perfect pass has quite a bad effect. It hit 3 out of our 4 triggers. Just that one fault. It's a fail, so it affects the overall pass rate. Examiner taking action affects that one, and another dangerous fault affects that one. Look what it could have been if they had just waited there. The pass rate would have went up to 70%, way above the trigger figure. The examiner taking action would have went down from 21% just to 20%. I tell you, it's slow at coming down. Average minor faults wouldn't have made a difference, and would have come down on the serious and the dangerous faults. So, I hope this has made a tiny little bit of sense. If your driving instructor thinks that you're ready, and you can prove that you're ready for sitting a mock test, chances are you take the car, fine. If you can't do that, or if you're not driving at the standard that's required, this is why we tend to say no. Because why should we take a hit on our stats when we try our best? Right. Couple of things. One, getting a standards check is part of this job. We need to get it often. I've not had one in years and years and years and years and years. 2016, I think. But that's either because there's mega backlogs or because what I do is okay and I'm not hitting these triggers. I don't agree with a lot of these things, but it's above my pay grade, right? I don't have a say in this. This was really just to not be bitter about the system. It was to explain how things affect your instructor. For you, you fail, you sit it again. Right? For us, we've got that on our record for a whole year, and then it'll drop off a year later. You know? So, I know a lot of instructors that will say, just who cares? And I care a little bit, you know. I want to do as good a job as I can, and I want for you guys to do as good a job as you can, which is why I just want people to pass, and I don't want people to take the car if they're not ready. Simple as that. I've got a funny feeling this might be a little bit controversial. I'm sure there'll be someone who disagrees, and there'll be someone who has a different opinion. Happy to hear it in the comments, guys. Any questions you have, get in touch, and I'll be happy to answer them. So, until next time, see you later. Bye.